who knows what the circumstances are going to be moving forward. So let's do it now. This is like the window, the moment. So let's knock it out.
It's not often the drift community truly comes together over something where there's like almost no discourse. It's just like, oh, this is fantastic. This is one of those situations.
He got hooked on it like drugs. And like we had to break his heart when we were tired of melting motors towards the end of the season. We said like, we're pulling the system out of the car. Sorry. And then we stopped melting motors.
I've yet to actually talk to any drivers about this. What are your thoughts on one, qualifying coming back, two, the rise of the robots in judging and in drifting?
That's dope.
I'm stoked about it, but now I'm like, I need to learn Japanese. This episode is brought to you by Nomatic. Now, Nomatic makes some incredible travel gear. I mean, it is what I have been using basically nonstop since 2019, and they are offering you 15% off your entire order by using the link down below. Your discount will be applied at checkout. We are also doing a giveaway for one of the Nomatic backpacks. This thing is amazing. I've been daily driving one for over a year now. The value on this backpack is $330, and I can tell you it is 100% worth it. If you want to win that backpack, head over to the podcast website. That is outerzonepod.com. There'll be a little tab at the top where you can put in your info. You got to follow our socials, follow Nomatic on Instagram, and submit your email. That way we can contact you if you win. And if you are a podcast member, you are automatically entered into the draw to win a Nomatic carry-on, which is something I've been using for over 2 years now. It is insane how durable it is. It's incredible. Thank you so much, Nomatic, for offering that discount code. Like I said, link down below, and for hooking us up with the giveaways. So please check out Nomatic, and hopefully you're one of our many winners. We have 50 discounted tickets available for every event right now. And if you check out down below, all the discount codes are there. Remember, we're only doing 50 per event. So you want to jump on that right away. Save yourself $5. Use that money however you want. Grab yourself some awesome merch. I mean, I don't know, just use it, but put it in your pocket, hang on to it. And every time you see that $5 bill, hey, Jacob hooked me up. Save myself $5. There's $5 right here. So save yourself some money, and we'll see you there.
Waiting to see this hand in person for years.
That's not well done. That's congratulations.
I have this vacuum video where...
That's a bad match.
Do you need us to stop talking?
You kind of gave me the chills a little bit, but...
I mean, what are they going to do? Come give me a ticket? It's on YouTube.
You do dive into some stuff, don't you?
He's the hero we needed.
We're doing this inside the Texas Roadhouse.
Hope you are not in Prospect next year.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Outer Zone, the official podcast of Formula Drift. My name is Jacob Gettins, and today we have Odi Bakchis. I always joke about the pronunciations right at the beginning of it. I've been watching your new videos, obviously, and I feel like you've been pushing the proper pronunciation of your last name more recently than previously. You kind of just like flowed with the Bakchis, and now I've noticed when you're saying it, you're like Bakchis, which I believe is, I would hope, is the correct pronunciation of it.
Yeah, it is. That's funny that you picked up on that. I haven't paid attention, but maybe that is happening because I've been really talking with more Lithuanians lately.
Oh, really?
I've reconnected because of drifting. I made a whole lot of new friends in Lithuania, and I sometimes talk to them quite frequently in Lithuanian. And yeah, maybe that's a function of that. I'm hanging in and yeah, just my Lithuanian tongue is being being used more.
Interesting. I know, depending, I'm not bilingual by any means. It's something that's actually kind of bugging me, to be honest, that I'm not. Like, I try to work on my pronunciations. I speak enough French to get by, but not enough that I would ever consider myself bilingual.
But you're probably right there. So if you just did a lot more.
If I bettered myself, yeah. If I spoke it every day, or I was with somebody every day who all we did was speak in French, I could probably get back to a really good level. But I don't know. I feel like because I'm Canadian, I almost don't want to learn French, just because it was so heavily pushed in school, where I'm like, no, I want to learn, Japanese, or I want to learn, Swedish or something along those lines.
I feel like the only way you learn is out of necessity. So it's like pick a language where you feel like you have to use it to communicate to friends or family.
Yeah. My daughter's, my oldest daughter's like really big into Japanese culture and she's pushing really hard to go to like fall Matsuri or something like that. So she's been taking Japanese lessons and then she's like bugging me. Or? Pardon? No, just on her own.
Very cool.
Yeah. She's 11, but like there's I can't remember the name of the program, but like we pay for like monthly credits and she can take additional classes and things like that. And she's
like
been
a Rosetta Stone, something like that.
Yeah, but they do a lot of stuff. Like she's been taking violin lessons. Like she's just like, I want to learn how to play violin. I'm like, I'm not going to stop you. And
dude, that's so good. When kids have like a desire to learn and read, and it's like it melts my heart. You know, like, I feel like as a kid,
load off my shoulders. Like to be like, oh, you want to learn stuff? Like, oh, thank you.
No, it's a blessing to as a parent to have a kid that on their own intuition they want to. Or they just want to do it. So props, man. Yeah. That's good. That's dope. That's like
I'm stoked about it. But now I'm like, I need to learn Japanese. Like I think that's maybe what the next project is. Not because I also have a ton of downtime traveling, and I'm like, what am I doing with that time? Why am I not more productive with it? Right?
Yeah, that's always a guilty thing, right? Like sometimes when I'm on a long flight, I almost wish there wasn't Wi-Fi because then you don't feel guilty that you're just gonna watch a movie and chill out for a little bit. Because if there's Wi-Fi, I feel like I have a million things I should be working on.
That's very fair.
And then by the time I know it, this flight's over. Like even the longest flights when I was a teenager, I would go to Europe and it would seem so daunting in such a long flight. And now they go by so fast because you do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And you're like, okay, I'm going to splurge and give myself like a chance to watch like 1 or 2 movies on like a 12-hour flight. And then by the time you do all those things and watch like a movie or two, it's like, and knock out and sleep for like at least a little bit. It's just like that time's gone.
Yeah. Cause it's like, you know, say an hour for a meal and like you're kind of the first hour up and then a couple hours sleeping. Like, yeah, it's an 8 or 9 hour flight is long, but it starts to go by pretty quick when you've done a bunch of them. When
you have like a couple tasks that, you know, like, oh, I'm going to just knock it out on the flight and those consume hours, then you're just like, yeah. Time goes by quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I want to start using them. Like I do all my research and stuff. I'll do all my notes before an event on the flights and I'll go back and watch any videos, like any YouTube videos from drivers that I've missed in between events and things like that. So I feel productive. I feel like I'm working, but I'm also kind of like, I could be doing those things at home or at a different time. Like maybe I should dictate that flight time is specific to like learning a language or something. But then it's also, am I that weird dude who's talking to himself in really bad broken Japanese on a flight, just hoping someone speaks Japanese so I can practice?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You don't want to watch something too weird or say things out loud. Like it's a public space, like very intimately close to other people, you know?
That's the worst one is you'll start watching a movie and not realize that things get a little weird. And you're like, oh, okay. And you're just like immediately trying to close out of it. Yeah.
I wonder how many of us do that. I'm definitely one of those because I have kids, right? And I'm like, what if there's like you're watching like a cool action movie. I like watch something kind of crazy like that because my kids are like, they don't like movies that have, well, we just don't expose them to bad stuff like that. And on the plane, I'm like sometimes watching it and like, there's like always like a scene where they're like starting to torture someone or something crazy. And I'm just like, I'm not into this stuff. Like I need to like not, I want to make sure no one is being scarred right now. Like, or someone's kid is just like, you know, like
I am also hyper aware on flights. Like I don't want to inconvenience people. I don't want to bug people. I don't want to be the guy that someone is talking about when they get off a plane. Like, I don't know if it's a self-conscious thing or just like, I don't like to be bugged on a plane. I don't like somebody whistling or listen, you know, on speakerphone or, you know, listening to something with no headphones on. Like those things just, I mean, they drive me crazy because it's like, are you just not aware of your surroundings or that there's other human beings in your vicinity?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think actually Josiah posted something about that. Like he was blown away how he's jealous of how people could be so unaware and so relaxed about inconveniencing people and just not being aware of it. You know, he's just like, man, I wish I could like almost do that. You know, like I stress I identify with that. And I think you do as well.
Yeah, I saw that. I there are definitely days where I wish I cared a lot less, you know, and just could go through and inconvenience that or just butt people in line to like, but then I'm also like, I just can't do it. And there's like the odd time where maybe I've caught myself doing something dumb like that. And then I feel for it forever. And I don't know if you ever get this where you make a mistake and then like something dumb, but then years later, it just pops up in your head again. Like, hey, remember that time where you cut off that lady? And you're like, can I just like process this and deal with it and just move on? But for some reason, now that I'm driving down the highway, I need to rethink about a time I might have cut somebody off in traffic. Yeah,
I get it. Or sometimes you do something and afterwards you're like, oh my gosh, that probably came off as if I'm trying to do something completely other than that and might have been really bad. But I did that not long ago. I was having a text conversation with somebody about like a pretty serious situation. And they're getting into all the details. Like I wrote something and then I reread it and then I immediately just called them and said, hey, like, I want to talk to you because you're going to read this text message I sent and I'm going to come off as a total asshole. And that's not how I meant it. I just want you to be aware of that I actually feel really bad about this whole thing. And they're like, oh yeah, it's actually not that bad. And I'm like, okay, cool. But you don't know. You don't, especially over text. You leave it to chance. Yeah. There's like several forms of communication, right? Face-to-face, telephone, then written. And the message gets more and more diluted and up for interpretation. And it could be interpreted in like, you know, maybe someone's having a bad day and they interpret something that was quite joyful that you wrote to them as like a very depressing or aggressive thing. So text messages are terrible, man. I use LOL terrible. A lot to like indicate that I'm not serious about whatever it is that I'm saying. I probably use it too much, but I hope it diffuses the situation. That's all. I love it when people text the way they talk. Like we have one crew member that says things like, shit, ha, ha, ha. And he texts the same way. It's so awesome. I love him for it. Yeah, because you kind of know immediately what they're conveying and how they're conveying it. Like there's no guessing at that point in time. You know their tone, like right off the bat. There's nothing worse than someone just responding with, K or something like that. Yeah, you're like, is this guy being passive aggressive? What's going on? Are they just like busy and trying to be short, Yeah, I've done a lot more voice memos lately. I find that helps quite a lot. Because like I have a lot of communications with people in Europe and WhatsApp is pretty regular. And WhatsApp does a really good job with that, especially like providing the transcript of it. So if they just want to read it, they can. But I was doing like a bit of a business negotiation with somebody and they opened it up with a voice memo. And I was like, you know what? That's really smart. I'm like, at least now we can read the situation a lot better. We can get through it. The voice memos are 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes long. And I'm like, this is it. Like this, I'm super happy with the way things are going. Like, and then I've started doing it more and more often now with people, like even like to my wife. And she's like, why are you sending me voice memos? I'm like, it was a fad. It's just easy. Remember Marco Polo? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Like everyone at my company for a little while was required to have Marco Polo. So that way we can it's like a walkie-talkie basically, right? But you're showing your face, like, you could be either smiling or you're like, I'm really angry that you made this mistake or whatever it is. And it's needed. Bring Marco Polo back. Teams has a walkie-talkie app if you're, into the corporate communication stuff. It works really well. I mean, I don't use Teams all that often, but being in marketing, I kind of have to like communicate the way that all of my clients communicate. So I have like Slack and email and phone calls and WhatsApp and Instagram. Like it's just constant in different ways. But
I have to be, going back to that whole not wanting to make anybody upset. I have to kind of accommodate everybody in their form of communication.
Yeah, man, I ignore. I have it filtered. I don't even see DMs. Like I purposely like, but I feel like some people get butthurt. But it's like, dude, like you got to understand. I have so many channels of communication that are open to me that I can't ignore. So I have to pick and choose. Otherwise, I am just the time of flipping, toggling back and forth. You just can't. You can't do it. Then you're gonna let everyone down. So yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're getting at. Yeah,
too many channels are out there.
It is. There's just a lot. Like, I heard a funny phrase. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it was like, if somebody has a problem with me, they can text me, and if they don't have my phone number, then it's not that big of a problem. And I was like, ooh, that's pretty good. Like, that's a pretty clear line as to whose opinions you should actually be concerned with. Is like, if they don't got your number, you really shouldn't be that upset.
That's deep. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember who told me that one, but I was like, that's really good. It might have actually been Jared now that I think about it.
Huh.
Yeah. But, so I feel like you are the busiest person this off season. I don't know what happened this off season, but there seems to be not a lot going on in the grid. And then you are normally the person who's like, quick refresh, right back out with the same car. And now the rest of the grid is pretty slow. And you're like, hey, we're changing chassis. We're doing something crazy. We're signing crazy young drivers again. Like, I don't know what happened to the very relaxed off-season Odi, but you've definitely flipped the script this year.
I gave myself one. Last season was all for me and just chill. Last season was like, find the fun and bring it back. Okay.
Did it work?
Yeah, it did. I mean, I wanted to perform a lot better. Like, I'm not happy with, the way things turned out. But like points wise, we still got 2 podiums, which, it could be worse. But I had so much good quality family time. We had the best vibe amongst the crew guys. We found like a really good rhythm. It was awesome. There's times where we stayed at the track with the family in the toter home just for the fun of sleeping in the toter home instead of going to the rental house. Like, because the kids are just like spur of the moment. They're like, we just want to stay here tonight and ride our scooters under the twinkle lights in the pits. And like, really? Sure. That's cool. Cool. So yeah, we found a fun groove, but this sport is expensive. It takes a lot of time. So I'm one of those people, and Amy's not. I'm one of those people that's like, if I do this, I have to use it as a marketing arm, as a research and development arm, as a revenue stream for the household. Like, I can't just take too many years like that of let's just chill and hang out. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sacrifice any of the stuff that I found that makes it more fun and enjoyable for the family. But, I definitely added some stuff on my plate to do, just even before the season. And it's fun stuff though, like building a new car is something I've always wanted to do. It was never the right time to do it because there was drivers that relied on having a tried and true chassis with a good spares package, all the cars being the same so we could share data across the board. So there were 4 years that I just didn't want to build a chassis because of that. Last year, I didn't want to do much of any of that. I wanted to kind of like chill, a little bit.
Yeah.
And this year, I feel like, well, if I don't do it now, build a new chassis, like who knows what the circumstances are going to be moving forward. So let's do it now. This is like the window, the moment. So let's knock it out.
So how did this all more or less come together? Because Subi Mods was a partner, what seems to be a much smaller partner last year. Logos on the car. So is this like a conversation that comes up at some point, like between you and them, and you're like, hey, I think it would be cool. Like, let me support what you guys do more. Let's try and figure something out. Or were they coming to you being like, Odi, this chassis is great, but it could be phenomenal. Let's see what you can do and get your hands on it.
I'll be straight up with you. There was absolutely, I didn't care what anyone thought, what would be on the table as far as sponsorship or not sponsorship, what fans thought. I just wanted to build a new car.
Okay.
And I vetted out every chassis that was available to me. I was like willing to buy a brand new, G-body BMW, whatever I thought was cool to me, whatever fits the bill.
Okay.
And then I'm like a true believer. If you just follow your true passion and do what you want to do, like things will the universe will work out. So I called my buddy at Subi Mods and told him, like, way after we're into the chassis already, like, hey, just letting you know, like, you're going to be stoked on this. This is what I'm building. And sure enough, they were stoked on it. But it wasn't, cool. It wasn't like, hey, let's go where the sponsors want us to go or where we feel like there's more marketing value. Obviously, any new chassis would have been great for field suspension. That is, as long as it's not like a Aston Martin or something where it's just not relatable. We don't see a lot of production numbers of that chassis or vehicle, but there's so many chassis that I could have picked, and any number of those would have been good for field suspension. So arguably some would have been better than the BRZ, but the Subaru, what's really cool is that the first handful of part numbers that field suspension ever created were for Subarus. So this is kind of like, it's kind of like tying it all back together, and I really want to re-engage with the Subaru crowd. Like, that demographic has changed a ton since field suspension first started offering coilover kits for WRXs and STIs back in, the days where the GD chassis Subaru was the thing. Mm-hmm. The demographic's quite different. I understand that it's not the same, but either way, I want to I want to get back into what I feel like field suspension had its start in, was being really a masterclass at providing really good suspension solutions for Subarus.
Yeah. And whether or not this was your thought process about the whole thing, is like, it is right now probably the most accessible. There's a lot of chassis that are out there. The prices are pretty stable. Like, you can get into them at a decent price. It's pretty clear, no matter what people say, like, from grassroots day one with almost nothing done to it all the way up to championship level, they're competitive across the board. Do they have things that need to be worked on? Is there some drawbacks with them? Yeah, but that's every chassis, period. Like, every chassis got something where you're like, oh man, I really wish it had this. And I text you immediately after watching one of the videos about you updating the suspension to the long travel. And I was like, holy, like, this is the thing. This is the biggest, according to the internet, this is the biggest drawback of this chassis. And you're potentially going to resolve it. So to me, it's not a difficult thing to do. And look, it's not just me. The myth that these cars don't have enough suspension travel in the rear, I think that was a real thing. But then with companies like WiseFab, they created a way where all the arms in that complex system could actually cycle through the full range of suspension, and a little bit more than what the OEM would allow for. But then there was still the constraint of shock manufacturers not building a shock that could take advantage of that. So, like, for WiseFab, the way they engineer that rear suspension kit to work, you can't just put a default shock on. You can't. It works, but you leave a lot on the table. And WiseFab squeezes out a lot out of chassis, and I see it over and over and over again, that the shock package now becomes the constraint. You're not even utilizing WiseFab's technology to the fullest. Like, Risto, the engineer at WiseFab, is a smart dude, and he develops the stuff to work really well, but then it's left in the hands of the consumer to make sure that you pair it with a good shock. So if I threw just a default shock on the back of and we've been building a WiseFab specific shock kit for these chassis for a long, long time. Like, all the inventory in Europe, like field suspension inventory in Europe, has a W at the end of the part number, because it's all drift consumers for field suspension in Europe.
And
Yeah.
the rear shock that we've ever built for that went to Europe is a longer stroke shock than what is available here as an option. So the stroke has always been an option in the US. In Europe, just by default, because our distributor there is YSF. They all have YSF. Obviously, when I got a hold of the chassis, I took it a little step further because I was able to mess around with the YSF settings a little bit, see where the upper arm is contacted in the unibody, measure out what is the ideal shock body and shock shaft, lower mount, like the whole formula, right? I was able to do a lot of calculating to get the shock in there that has the most amount of stroke. And I could go on and on. Like there's some articulation that's needed in the shock as YSF starts to pivot the shock, and if you have rubber bushings in the component in the assembly, that you're leaving some on the table there as well. But bottom line is, these chassis, they needed a lot of help, a lot more than a 240 or something else. And it's not just me. The aftermarket support for these chassis is wild. There's so much R&D that now I think it's come a long way. It's you have no excuse, I feel like, now to make this thing work really well. And yeah.
Do you think because of the limited travel, that just meant that window for adjustment is much smaller? And I think it's something that you see and you hear about in the Supra chassis as well, where it's like, hey, there isn't a lot of room in here. You can make all the adjustments you want, but understand that, in maybe an S chassis or BMW, you could be half a turn off, a full turn off, and still be within a pretty good operating window. But in something like this, if you're half a turn or a full turn in any of these adjustments, I'm being very vague, obviously, but that is where, because there isn't a lot of room to play with, that half a turn could be the difference between being really comfortable and then having a setup that's just not ideal.
So the shocks that you'd commonly find off the shelf for these cars do have very little amount of stroke, and you could still make that work. You could still do it. But when you have a very limited amount of shock stroke, then it's up to the consumer to set the correct spring preload. Make sure that is dialed. Make sure that the shock's not too soft. Otherwise, they'll blow through the stroke. So yes, what you're trying to say is then the window is much narrower for it to work properly, but it could still work properly, but you cannot make mistakes, right? Like you will sabotage the rear suspension of the car if you're just haphazardly setting it up. So the longer stroke shocks that we created kind of bump you back to where you could be a little bit more haphazard with it. Like you have just more abundant travel. But if you don't do something crazy like that, and a lot of people get it wrong. It's quite easy to do. You could put a really, really baller shock on the back of that car, but if you don't have enough spring rate or enough preload or enough compression damping, like you're going to be on the bump stop everywhere, and that's going to feel like a very terrible low quality shock. So and then it's easy just to point at the product, and for most people, they want to point at a product and say, this is going to fix my issue. And it's like, it will, if you understand how to use it properly. It's phenomenal. But if you don't know how to use it properly, it can be just as bad as anything else, because it's just, you haven't provided the correct setting for it to do what it needs to do. Yeah. And that's half the battle, right? You could create a really good product, but if you don't have the after sales support to tell people and show people and educate people how to use that product correctly, then you have a failed product at the end of the day. And that's why it's important for like us, right? We're into drifting. It's important for us to align ourselves with everything, an engine builder that understands drifting, a brake company like Willwood, or that understands drifting, understands like the weird brake bias we run, and then suspension company, shock company that understands drifting. Because if you could build the most badass product, but if you can't tell people how to set it up and how to use it correctly, like it'll be a failed product at the end of the day.
It's useless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. I mean, I'm sure, as the official, unofficial suspension of drifting, which I love that so much. It's so good. But holding that, like, I'm sure there's days where you're just like, I don't understand why people can't get this. Like when you're an expert at something, it can be very difficult to step back and realize how steep of a learning curve what you came from already was, right? Because your learning curve was 20 years ago, and for some people, their learning curve started today. Yeah. And like that I know I've run through that and had those frustrations, like even dealing with clients where I'm like, how do you not know this? This is basic marketing. Like, this is day one. And then like, I have to realize no one calls me because stuff's working well. They call me because there's a problem. Right. So I can't immediately assume that they know how to solve this problem because they never would have called me.
Yeah. I just put myself in, I look at the things that I'm terrible at that I shouldn't be terrible at. Right. And then I go, whoa, okay. Like, fair enough. Like everyone's got a certain bandwidth. Everyone's got a certain interest in learning certain things. And, I put myself in my own freaking shoes and go, look, like, why can I not understand some of the programming terms or something like that when like an IT person's trying to help me out? Like, well, I should, and I don't. So if you don't know shocks in and out, like, that's totally okay. It's okay.
What do you find is I guess like what is something simple that somebody listening right now could take away from this and be like, where you're like, hey, just if you can get this part right, start with that, and then now you can start to fiddle with some other things. Like, we see this problem all the time. I can cut down on half my calls a year just by addressing this right now. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's, I feel like a broken record saying this, so I almost like bite my tongue and I don't, but I think 30% of us or people listening now that have coilovers on their car or some sort of adjustable suspension that has like the ability to adjust ride height and spring preload, or at least spring preload. I bet you 30% of the listeners don't have it set up. They don't have their shock set up in the optimal like stroke range, in the optimal position, meaning that it's either topping out because it's running out of suspension travel on the rebound stroke. So after you hit a bump, the car floats up and it like tops out, and it's given a really poor quality, like ride quality, or lift. So it could actually just wheel hop altogether.
It can, if it's extreme. Okay. Or sometimes it's just as subtle as you're like, all of a sudden feel like, whoa, like, like a roller coaster where you're just like, oh, your stomach dropped for a little bit and you're like, what just happened? But the car never came off the ground. Or complete opposite. It could be feeling very harsh and stiff, but in all reality, it's just ramping into the bump stop too much because your static ride height is consuming too much of the total amount of suspension travel that you have. Kind of back to the GT86 FRS BRZ rear suspension dilemma that a lot of people were saying this car is just crap because in all reality, the rear shock just wasn't. And this doesn't take you removing the shock and sending it to a shop to get this like rebuilt. This is something that after you listen to this podcast, you can go in your garage and jack up the car and put it on the ground and measure how much the wheel's drooping out. And we have guides on Feel Suspension's website. It doesn't matter if you have Feel coilovers or some other brand. You could literally go and probably 30% of you guys listening could probably improve the ride quality of your car for free just by doing that.
I mean, I know the zip tie trip for at least bump stops, like throw a zip tie around your shop. Maybe, I mean, you tell me if this is like a bad idea, it might screw a seal up or something, but
yeah, absolutely.
Like,
you could blow your
zip tie and you'll know what your how far that shock is compressing.
But I get so happy when we rebuild a shock and the shock comes back with like a zip tie on I'm just like, hell yeah, this person at least cares. This person is doing something, even though the zip tie might have went through the dust seal and it's like, dude, it's ruining the shock, but I don't care. At least this person
tried.
Yeah. We actually went as far as on my car last season. We had basically a check engine light that comes up on my dashboard if the shock is running into the bump stop. because
do you have a potentiometer on the shock then?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it gives me a warning sign on my dash. That means like, hey, Odi, like crank in some low speed compression into your shock, because, we found through testing, as soon as you land on the bump stop in certain situations, you rob a lot of traction. So, that's where dynamic suspension comes into play, which we're not allowed to use in Formula Drift, but then you could control those kinds of suspension movements to not ever run into the bump stop. But with 2-way or 3-way adjustable shocks, like you kind of have no excuse. You can dial it into where you're not running into the bump stop in places that will rob you of rear traction.
Yeah. I think an easy one is grab an action camera, set it to a really high frame rate, 120, 240, whatever it can do. Even if you're at a lower quality, go through your run and set it in a place where you can see what the suspension movement is like and watch it in slow motion. Because that was one of, when I started with the team, that was one of the first assignments that I had in practice. They're like, no, like as a media guy, they were like, hey, we want a camera at the front. We want a camera at the back looking at the suspension. We're going to run 2 practice laps, and then we're going to pull the footage and look at it and see what's going on. And from there, they're like, cool, we either have it dialed or we know what the problem is. Now the rest of the weekend, we can worry about the next thing, as opposed to constantly fighting whatever our suspension setup was. And that was on a BRZ chassis as well, because they knew, coming into it, that it was a tough chassis to set up, but ultimately very, very successful team. So it worked out well.
Nice. This was road racing?
No, this was Riley Sexsmith in Pro 2.
Oh, that guy's got the craziest last name.
Yeah, I know. So great. Yeah. But the team came from rally and import drag racing, like the mechanics and the crew chief and everybody else. So they're like, no, this is what we did in rally. This is how we would check the suspension there. They had, other technology they worked with, but they're like, this is how we would do it. We would check cameras, and as long as the camera survived. But even in drag racing, they did the same thing. They could understand if they were hitting the bump stops at launch, and
nice.
They just brought that over into drifting.
Yeah. No, if you have a system, just use it, keep using it. Yeah. So, sometimes I even tell people like, hey, like adjust your shock body length, or if you have an adjustable bump stop, like the ones that we sell, and you're not sure if you're like running out of travel, adjust it to a point where you're going to let your tire start scraping the inner fender well, and put tape on the inner fender well, to hit it with some spray paint. And then after each run, have your guys look and see if you're putting like tire marks on the paint of the chassis. Like if you are, you have a problem. Like you need to start adding more compression force into the shock, or raise ride height, or increase spring rate, or a combination of both. But at least then you have a visual. It's like, damn, like we're running out of mechanical travel. Like you'll probably hear it too. Yeah, you'd be surprised. I hopped into someone's car recently, and it was so bad I felt it. You go into the corner and the car sets, and you're like, what am I setting on? Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah, like seeing, feeling that kind of stuff is cool. Yeah, and I guess you would be a little more attuned to it as well, where you can kind of get into a vehicle and be like, oh, hey, like I did 1 lap, 2 laps or something. You're like, I can already let you know what's going on here, just based on, how boaty this is, or what it's doing, or anything else. Like I'm sure it's a sixth sense at this point. Well, there's certain things that are reoccurring always over and over. Like when we used to work on rally suspension, like you just brought up rally, I remember that triggered a memory that we had a client that it was like racing in South America somewhere. And he's like, Odi, my suspension's too stiff. Like, look at this video. The car is so stiff. And in the video, it's clear as day. The car is so soft that it's hitting the bump stop and just like, but it's like, you have to have a trained eye, I guess. To me, it's like so clear as day, but people go down the path of doing things that are, they're really intuitive maybe to them, but it's not the right thing to do. Like, oh, the car's too stiff. Let's keep going softer. And it's exaggerating the problem. Now it's like you're hitting that bump stop harder and harder and harder. So, Yeah,
But
it's
it happens so fast that you think that it's stiff, but meanwhile, it's so soft that you've gone through the travel and you're riding bump stops.
Absolutely. But those things, you know, are simpler said than done. And just with years and years of experience of seeing the same dilemma come up over and over again, you just kind of, you know, you start pointing the finger at like a smaller amount of things that could possibly be going wrong, and you start to realize that 90% of the time you're right, and you know, that's just kind of troubleshooting. Same thing as if you're working on, you know, someone's golf swing or computers or something. There's probably like a very small amount of mistakes that people repeatedly always are making that you could always go
and then
back.
every once in a while you get a fun one and you're like kind of excited. You're like, ooh, okay, hang on. We've gone through the playbook and I still haven't figured it out. All right, now I got to think on this one. Like, I get those sometimes too. And I'm like almost excited by it. Yeah. Because I'm like, let's go through the standard answers. And they're like, oh shit, we still haven't gotten to the bottom of this. All right, I'm going to have to think on this one.
Yeah. And it's sometimes exciting when it's like the dumbest thing that was going on. And you're just like, oh man, like that was such an easy fix.
Yeah.
It caused such a big problem.
There's some weird stuff like that, especially with cars, because there's so much going on where like you can't figure it out. Like you for whatever reason. I remember this is a super strange one. Years and years ago, I was probably like, I don't know, like 10 or 11. And I couldn't figure out why my dirt bike, which was like a CR80 or something, soon as I would like crank on the throttle, it would get up to a certain RPM and then it would just completely die out. And I'm like, could not figure it out for maybe a month. And
not enough fuel in the float bowl.
No, well, you're correct. But the reason why was at some point in time, somebody had used tinfoil on my fuel can to cover it because the fuel cap was missing. And a tiny piece of tinfoil got into the fuel tank. So as soon as I started picking up the throttle, the tinfoil would shift over and cover the fuel inlet. And like, you couldn't see it in the tanks, everything's shiny. And I drained the tank, but the tinfoil would just always
it would hide.
Find somewhere else to be.
Yeah, probably stick on the inside of the wall somewhere.
But it would only happen as soon as I cranked on it and the fuel flow started going. And it was one of those like really dumb, couldn't believe that I couldn't figure this out. But then you're like, as soon as you do, you're like, all right, I'm the smartest man ever.
Dude, I had some weird stuff that happened. And honestly, some of it I found the resolution by luck because it was that odd, like your tinfoil in the tank. Like how lucky were you that you spotted that piece of tinfoil, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and same thing with stuff on cars. Like we had what seemed to be a crank sensor issue like long time ago, and nothing was wrong. You know what it ended up being is a freaking spark plug the spark plug wire was a little too close to the crank sensor harness. And it was just like have interference, which was news to me. I was very fresh in motorsports that electrical currents could travel outside of wires like that and cause a disruption to the point where your engine is like running terribly. And the only way I found that out is I accidentally was troubleshooting and accidentally, to get access, pulled the spark plug wire off of the number 8 cylinder on LS motor. And I forgot to put it back on. I started the motor and I ran like shit because it was running on 7 cylinders. And I was like, okay, it's misfiring. That's weird. I forgot that I didn't reconnect the spark plug wire, but it didn't have that breakup with the crank sensor issue. Like it didn't have that trouble. And it took, by luck, I did not put that spark plug on. I forgot to put it on. And that revealed that, look, with that spark plug wire out, the crank sensor doesn't have a fault. So it was like, how lucky, right? But there's other instances that we just get lucky in motorsports that we find the cause of the problem, where you can put the craziest people on it and, you know, data logs mislead you and all this kind of stuff. And then by luck, you find the real root of the problem.
It's for me, it's always a bad ground. Like the amount of issues I've had over the years that have just been like a loose ground or a broken
frustrating
ground
when you're like, oh, I have this, and that. And then someone's like, oh, is your ground okay? That's like the common, like, is your ground?
I know.
Yeah.
I did an engine swap in my trucks and got everything back in. Everything's plugged in. Everything seems fine. And I go to start it for the first time. Security lights going on. The tach's like moving weird with the cranking, and the fuel gauge is going everywhere. And I'm like, how did I mess this up this bad? Like, I don't understand. It's just plugging things in. This, like, I didn't do anything strange. And when I pulled the engine lever, I broke a ground. Yeah. So even though everything was bolted up, it broke internally. And the only reason I found it was that the wire had stretched and it turned white because of how far it is stretched.
Yeah. So there you go. You got lucky.
Yeah, I was checking the battery connections. I looked down. I could see this lone wire in the middle of nowhere that just, you could tell had been stretched. I'm like, what are the chances? And just cut it, just touch them together, and everything ran fine. I'm like, okay, well, that could have been weeks of me trying to figure out what this problem was.
Dude, I got a fun ground one for you. I had a LS swapped RX-8 street car, and whoever did the swap, I bought it like that. The engine mounts were like making a terrible vibrating, like harmonic. Like they were just terrible. I fixed the engine mounts, fixed the like urethane mounts, like were like just sloppy, and there's like metal to metal contacting, causing vibration. So I fixed it. Like I made the urethane mounts like actually do their job, like isolate the vibration. I'm like sick. Late at night, I was like, I'm going to go home now. Start cranking the car. It won't start. I didn't do anything with electronics, with fueling, like nothing. It just cranks, no start. Or I forgot, it might have not even cranked. I forget what the problem is. And then like, I don't know what the hell I was doing, but I had a piece of wire that I was like starting to probe things. And I touched the wire that was like on the frame rail, and I touched the engine block, and like sparked. Like I was like, whoa, what the hell is going on? Engine mounts. I finally isolated the engine mounts from the chassis, and whoever did the swap never put a ground strap from the engine to the chassis. So I literally just broke the ground circuit by fixing the engine mounts, and the car won't start. So yeah.
Yeah. It's stuff like that's wild. Or yeah. I mean, even in my G, the power cables are tiny. So like once the engine gets hot, the power cables get too hot, and then there's too much resistance, the car won't start. So like, but as soon as I put new battery cables on, it was fine. And it was just the same thing. It was just the dumbest thing that I did an event, and a buddy of mine's a Ford mechanic, and he flew down. He's like my old mechanic from back in the day. And he's like, this is the dumbest thing ever. He's all pissed off by it. And then another friend's like, here, just like jump the ground with your jumper cables, like see if that does it. And as soon as we just literally from the battery to the chassis, negative, it fired up fine. He's like, yeah, battery cable's too thin. And I'm like,
crazy.
Holy, just stuff like that. So now that's like one of those conscious things where I'm like, anytime there's a bad ground, immediately just grab jumper cables and start grounding as much shit as you can. And if it runs, you know what your problem is. And I'm like, just one of those weird fixes. So I'm like, okay, any electrical issue I've had now, that's the first thing I do. I feel like I'd be amiss by not bringing this up. You have an incredible ability to spot talent between obviously Ben Hobson and Simon, and now Sean Booth, who I believe I'm on record at one point saying that he was the best driver in the US that wasn't competing. Now he is. One, thank you for helping, facilitating. I don't know how this all went down, but maybe you can enlighten us a little bit how that whole situation came to be, because Sean's an incredible driver, and I'm very excited he's going to be driving one of your cars.
Yeah, it's going to be scary seeing him in that car. That car is it's a weapon. I mean, when I drive it, I'm always like, holy crap. And Freddie, they took the car to the compound, and Freddie dynoed it shortly after they took it back to Florida. And sure enough, it still made more power than my FD car made before you spray nitrous, just running the blower, no nitrous. That car makes more power than a lot of my FD cars throughout the years would ever make. It's like causal ambiguity. What makes that thing is a firecracker. It's insane.
And this is the old Ben Hobson car, or is this? Okay, got it.
Yeah. So Ben put 4 rounds on the motor. We typically run them at least 8 rounds. So Sean's going to put the rest of the 4 on it. They did a good thorough checkup on it. But yeah, sometimes you just put something together and you're just like, I don't know why I did everything the same, and this one just like rips. And that's kind of the story of that motor. But that chassis is like tried and true. It's so super easy to drive. I got a lot of time into tweaking on everything in that car, and it's one of those cars where you jump in and you drive it and everything feels at home. Like the ergonomics are easy and good, and like just it drives itself. Like it doesn't do weird stuff. And if any driver wants to change something, I've done so many weird, wacky things in it. I could just tell them, well, adjust this or change that. And I kind of know what's going to happen. So there's not much like trial and error left in that thing. It's just kind of like, you want this? Sure. We can adjust that and it'll do it. But going back to your question, yeah, Sean is, that one kind of fell in my lap, to be honest. Like, just networking and hanging out with cool people in the drift community. His name kept on getting brought up, and then Freddie's a good friend of mine, and he's worked with me over the years, and he's my tuner. And I trust everything that, Freddie brings up to me, because he's a busy guy. I'm a busy guy. He understands like, hey, there's no time for baloney, for wasting time. So when he says things like, hey, can we rent your car and Sean wants to drive it? I know he's serious. And I was like, yeah, like let's do it. And I'm really excited about it.
I think we all are. It's not often the drift community truly comes together over something where there's like almost no discourse. It's just like, oh, this is fantastic. This is one of those situations where I feel like the entire collective was like, oh, this could be one of the best pro spec runs we've seen in a long time, which is, I mean, unfortunately for Sean, that's a ton of pressure. I don't think he feels pressure. I mean, I've been around him a fair bit, and like, he's a pretty chill dude. But it just seems right. Like, he did very well in his S15. Anybody that's been in your chassis have done incredibly well. So it's like match made in heaven in a lot of ways.
It is. Sean's a really good and aggressive driver. He doesn't have a lot of like competition experience. He has a lot of driving experience. So as long as he approaches it in a way that he approached all of his other driving, where he wants to have fun and just go freaking, run doors. So I think if he approaches it that way, it'll be great. And he's got pressure because you drive that car, you got a target on your back, man. When Ben drove it, he literally got plowed like numerous times. You just get a target on it. Everyone thinks that car is like going to go twice as fast as physically possible. But there's physics, like you can only go so fast. So, I think it'll be a good time. I'm excited, man. I had so much fun, going into like the hot pits when Ben would run, and just like being there for anything that happens. Cause I was confident, like, look, anything that happens, we could help, we could get it turned around and sorted. So, look forward to doing the same with Sean, and having Freddie there as well to oversee that program is confidence inspiring.
Yeah. So I guess, provide, as much detail as you feel comfortable with. So it's a rental situation though, where he's kind of more or less just paying to utilize that car. The upside though is like, with Freddie being the tuner on it, you're like, okay, Freddie's aggressive with his tuning, but he's very smart, where he's like, oh, I can get more out of this, but I'm not going to be stupid the way I go about that. Like it's still going to be a very safe tune. Freddie's
like one of those, it's an example of what we were talking about. You could have a good product without the after sales support. The product is not successful. Freddie's a good example of having a good product and having the after sales support, because he understands drifting. So he could create a good tune, and then he could also make sure that it's going to live in the environment of drifting. And if anything needs to be modified or changed, he has the ability to do that, and he does it. He's picky. He doesn't work with just anyone.
He's very picky,
because he knows that. I think this is funny because we never talked about this, but I think it's just, anyone that wants their business to succeed, they just know, like, you have to, you're signing up for helping someone when you sell them a product or service in order for it to be successful. So that's why he's picky, I think. Sean's got the tools to do it well. And yes, it is. Look, everyone that's ever driven my cars has paid for the seat. It's never been, that's kind of my business model. Like I bend over backwards, I lose sleep, I sacrifice time away from family. I don't run an operation where I put a lot of effort into marketing and acquiring brands and marketing those brands. I put all my time and energy into creating a car that is competitive and an environment for the driver to do well. That's kind of where I put I run lean. We don't have a huge team. You've seen them. You've been around my camp, but there's a lot of emphasis on reliability, on even when things aren't reliable, like, whatever it takes, like we get it done and we don't skimp out. We get it done and we go test, shake down. Like we're very diligent. So all my time and effort is spent on that. Therefore, it's not a free seat for anyone.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, this one's an interesting thing. And it's a bit of a hybrid. And this is why I was okay with it. Cause I still 100% that I'm building a new car, and that's going to consume a lot of my time. So when Freddie approached me, and Freddie, gave me the idea, like, look, we will manage the operations on the car, and we will use Feel Race Team. Well, this is the kind of like now us going back and forth. Well, Feel Race Team will be providing the knowledge, the experience, how to run that car. You guys will be physically, administering the work, but you will have all the resources, the Feel Race Team, all the spares package, and everything needed to run the car. And the guarantee that, look, if something fails on the car, Feel Race Team is responsible for supplying whatever needs to be replaced, but they're responsible for the labor of administering that. And that was really kind of it's a dream scenario, right? But I've never, ever rented a car like that to someone for a season, because you have to have the trust that someone has the technical acumen to do that. Like you can't give a really high quality piece of equipment to someone and expect that it's going to perform well and not be thrashed. So I knew that Sean's a good mechanic. He does a killer job on LZ's team. Freddie's a great tuner. Freddie's a really, really freaking good mechanic, actually.
Yes,
he just hates working on stuff, or he pretends like he doesn't do it. But man, that guy, when that shit needs to happen, he thrashes and gets it done. Like I've seen him replace stuff like on my car that, I was like, we had an alternator failure one time in Utah years ago. And I was like, oh, Freddie, this is kind of tough. You have to like clock the alternator a certain way for it to come out, like a procedure. And then he's just like, looked at me and like just got down and did it, and like just did it his own way. And it's like, I was like, how the hell did you do that? So I'm seeing all this is it really was a special time or a special circumstance for me to say, yes, take my prized possession car all the way across the country, do your own testing, do your own nut and bolt procedure, get to know the car and run it yourself without me supervising the whole thing.
Yeah. And it helps because, Freddie has been in your camp for quite a while. He already knows that car. He knows a lot of those procedures by heart. And, it just makes sense. Like, as you said, it's a special situation. It comes together in a fantastic way. And I think it's just one of those, like, it's not often that a deal can check all the boxes. Like there's almost always something you have to concede to, or you're maybe not as comfortable with, or you're like, this could go pretty sideways pretty quick and not in a nice way. But like this one, from my perspective, listen, I'm not putting a $250,000 car on the line here, but from my side, it looks and feels pretty friggin' fantastic from top to bottom.
It depends who you are, right? Like, I'll be honest, Amy was just like, I was just kind of like agreeing to things and just like, let's do it, let's roll. And then Amy's like, what are we doing? I'm like,
I can see and hear it in my head, like her doing that. Like, Odi,
no, this dude in Florida, like he's gonna drive the car. And she's like, what? Like, so it depends who you are,
Yeah.
But she's always very level headed, and she's like, well, okay, well, we cool. This sounds like a good opportunity. Like, let's draft an agreement. Let's communicate all the expectations from both parties, blah, blah. And Freddie and I are just like, bro, yeah, dude,
Amazing.
But you miss details like that too, when you get in the moment and you're just like, let's do this and that. And, and then you start realizing, oh, who's responsible for this or that? It's like, well, I thought you were. Oh no, I thought you were. So you gotta, sit down and really work through this stuff. It helps having people like Amy around for that.
Yeah. It's you have to have the hard conversations early, I think is something I've learned very quickly, especially in business, where it's like before one side has received or delivered something, before one side has leverage, like have those tough talks, like payments, like let's get payment talks out of the way as soon as you can, because that's the easiest time to do it. As soon as somebody has something the other side wants or needs or anything else, then someone's got leverage and becomes a very difficult time to have a conversation that doesn't feel like somebody's leveraging or has an advantage over the other one. Like I'll have conversations about money and stuff like that with clients in our first meeting, just to be like, hey, and I'll tell them like, hey, let's get the uncomfortable part out of the way. So we're not thinking about it anymore. This is how we do payments. These are our terms. This is how we're going to receive it. If you don't pay by this time, this is what happens. And then they're like, oh, cool. Like that's done. And same thing, like you have to do that with the contracts and everything else. It's just, it's unfortunate that there's business a part of it, but you'd rather have that dealt with then than if and when something happens and there's no agreement in place.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sometimes tough to do that when you are someone or you're working with people that are not maybe like organized on that in that sense of life. And there's nothing wrong with it not, that kind of stuff sucks, right? I don't like it.
No,
but
neither do I.
It's good to be disciplined and think about those things. That's what makes you, I guess, successful is dealing with the things that you don't like dealing with. But interesting what you brought up, like, luckily we're in a culture in the US where I think it's called a low context country culture, because there's high context and you can't conduct business that way in certain regions of the world. It's not that they're doing it wrong or we're doing it right or we're doing it wrong. It's just you can't force certain things before you get the relational and all this other stuff out of the way. So but we're in the US. This is where it's a little easier. So
yeah, there's definitely I have noticed that certain countries, you need to have a bit more pomp and circumstance before the business happens. There's things that need to happen almost ritualistically before you can get to that point. Like I think it was in The Wolf of Wall Street. They have a joke about that with like he's trying to get money into a Swiss bank account, and he's like, "Oh no, sir, we have 35 minutes of conversing before we talk about that." And I'm like, man, I can relate to that so hard. Like I've had clients like that where they're like, we'll have an hour meeting and 30 minutes of it just seems like we're just shooting the shit, which is great. But I'm like, guys, like I kind of just want to give you my report and then we can talk about business. And you just can't sometimes.
Yeah. Amy had to, she was an environmental consultant, and I remember one story that stuck out, and this is a good example of it, that she had to go to St. Petersburg, Russia, to do something for like some oil drilling client, like, and Russian culture is very to the point, no chit chat, right to business. And one of her associates was from South America, complete opposite culture. So yeah, that was like, she was telling me like, hey, interesting meetings. Like there's some like headbutting. So you just got to be conscientious of those things. Right. And like, you just got to understand.
Yeah, that would be, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that conversation. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So with, I guess, getting back into the BRZ build, I believe it was last year you did some testing between lower horsepower, lighter car versus heavy horsepower or higher horsepower, heavier car, bigger tire. at the time of this recording, the latest video, you decided to jump on the scales as quick as possible.
Prematurely.
You think prematurely?
I think so.
Have we learned something since that video has come out? That's what it sounds like. All right, guys, I hate to do this to you, but this next part of the podcast is available for premium members. You can become a premium member. It's super, super simple. Head over to OuterzonePod.com and you can sign up for it. It is $5 a month or $50 for the year. And you don't just get this extra bit of podcast. You get a bunch of stuff. You get to listen to the episodes 1 week early. You get ad-free listening. You don't have to listen to this anymore. You're already going to get it. You get entered into giveaways automatically just by becoming a member. You get discount on Outerzone merch, which is on the way. I've seen it. It's going to be sick. And it's super simple to get in. Outerzonepod.com, and you can become a premium member. Make sure to jump over to the Discord as well, because you get a exclusive role to that. You get a lot of amazing info. So if that's something you want to do, awesome. If you don't want to do it, you're going to get episodes the same way you've always gotten them. So I appreciate your consideration in this. And back to the episode. You could be saving money right now by using Podcast 26 at checkout when you shop for great FD merch. They have so much amazing stuff. And I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been a bit of an influx in teal merch. I don't know where that came from. I'm just saying. But if you like teal or one of the other amazing colorways that they've got on their skateboard decks, shirts, hats, all that stuff, you can use Podcast 26 at checkout. Save yourself 20%. That is wild. Do it right now. Save yourself some money and support FD.
I really enjoy driving my practice cars, like that video I did that compared my demo car versus my pro car. I mean, I just drive harder when the car is underpowered and it has a very linear, very predictable power band. Like I think most of us do. And I kind of miss that. I don't like the feeling that sometimes I jump into my like demo car and I have more fun driving it than my pro car. Like it's not a fun feeling. So
do you think that's just you have less mechanical sympathy for it, so you're willing to push that much harder?
No, it's that pushing it that much harder is more rewarding. It's a very very apparent thing that if you push one of my pro level cars, that one of my FD cars, if you push it too hard, you're actually going slower. So you're over flashing,
blowing through the tires.
Yeah. You have to be patient, like in a lot of areas. So it adds this whole other element to the driving aspect that you have to always be on the hunt for the grip, and you could very easily go over that threshold. So, it's kind of feels like walking on eggshells sometimes, but yeah, you get in the groove, that kind of goes away. I just feel like you get in the groove faster on a car that's not prone to flashing the tire unpredictably. And I see other drivers go ahead.
I was going to say, are you dancing the throttle more in the pro car, or like because you're hunting for that? Yeah.
Looking at the logs, like we're very rarely, 90 to 100% throttle input. You're always like kind of looking for it for the grip, and you're very rarely like matted on the throttle and just concentrating on the steering and braking inputs. You're always like, working the power band to make sure it's happy in its happy spot.
Yeah, it's interesting because like we're at the tire, we're at a tire limit again, right? Like I feel like, and obviously you've been in it longer than I have, but what feels like we go through a lot of these rotations where it's like we get to it where the tires are absolutely insane and the horsepower can't keep up. And like the tires are so grippy, and then we start breaking a lot of mechanical things because we're hunting to get the power back into it, right? Like there was that era where everybody was destroying diffs and everybody was destroying transmissions and axles, and now we're at the point where like engine packages have come to a point where they can deal with the on-off throttle, they can deal with the soak of them, like everything that we're throwing at drifting. Engines are kind of at a point now where they're good. Yeah. Transmissions, same thing. Diffs, same thing. CVs, same thing. Yeah, so then it's like, okay, we can just keep putting more power into them.
And it's insane what the like aftermarket automotive high performance industry has achieved, like because of drifting. Like we got to a point where we're breaking Winters differentials, right? Like, and they needed to step up their game. Like, it's insane that like drifting has caused that. Like now, like that product is stronger than ever. Axle, same thing. Like we made axle companies like reinvent the wheel. Like it's insane.
Clutches. I mean, there was a while where guys were going through clutches like every couple of laps.
Yeah.
And now there's still a few teams that do, let's be honest, but it's for different reasons though. Guys are having to slip clutches to find grip again because their power is so much. And I would say, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, clutch slipping has become a very predominant thing in it might be the next argument that we have, similar to what was going on with left foot braking for a long time, where it's like, hey, do we find ways to limit clutch slipping now? Or do we find a way to judge against it? I don't know.
But it's everything. Like even fuel systems back in the day, like Aeromotive A1000 was like, this is the best thing ever, right? And it was loud and crazy, and it
was so loud.
It got the job done, but then drifting started like saying we need more fuel or we need the pump to last longer. And it's just like, now you have all these cool options. It's with everything. We've gotten to that point where we have good equipment now, though, for sure.
Yeah.
And now it's like the driver could concentrate on driving a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where we go next. Like, do we open up, different dynamic tuning or something where you can not, I don't want traction control per se, but like, is that the next thing where like we're finding ways to keep the car in a grip window, which sounds a lot like traction control, but like, is that the next thing we need to do? I don't know, because tire wear is very close. We're barely getting 2 laps out of the cars. If you go check out the burn pit of tires, like there's nothing left on anybody anymore.
Yeah.
So we have to find something.
Yeah. I think it's just making the cars handle better is there's a lot on the table there still. You look at the variety of how cars are set up and it's so different. Like it used to be even more different, right? Like you used to see cars that would wallow around on track. You see cars that used to dive, used to squat, or they're getting a little bit more closer together. So I think everyone's kind of figuring it out. But I think there's still quite a bit left there to get the cars to be more predictable and easier to drive. And yeah, the power is there, and making the power band and power curve maybe more manageable as well, and more, predictable. And there's still reliability issues, with some components that we're working through, but it's now we're just getting greedy. We're just like, well, we want 1,200 horsepower to the wheels, so let's find a way to keep this engine alive, even though it gets up to 1,600 degrees on exhaust temp, so
Jesus.
Sport's in a fun, interesting spot. And
yeah,
we'll see. I think maybe there's room for less horsepower. I think maybe that kind of checks off some of the boxes I just listed, as far as making the car more predictable, easier to drive, easier to find the traction, to go fast where you want to go fast, and then be able to hold angle and do all the things that you're supposed to be doing as a drift car or a drift driver at the same time.
Yeah, I wonder, like, I don't know. I had this interesting thought where it's like, what if, especially using a drive-by-wire throttle, I was driving like a hybrid not that long ago, and if you press the pedal to a certain level, it almost had like a small bit of resistance that would give you feedback that you were then going into gas mode. So if you kept it low, but there was a noticeable, not quite click, but increase of resistance when you went into gas mode. And like, could you, with an electronic throttle, do that? Where you're like, hey, our map is telling us at this throttle, we have the most amount of grip. Everything past this, we're overworking the tire. We're going to give it to you in case you need to do it, because there are instances where kind of flashing the throttle really quick can help with the transition, where you loosen the car up just for a second, and then you're kind of coming back off of it to find the grip again. Like there is viable reasons to have too much horsepower, but like some sort of driver feedback that like allows you to stay in that perfect grip window, because like you could look at a data log and find it. Like it exists. Without breaking the rules, without using wheel speed sensors or any of this stuff, it's very easy to tell. There's a certain load of the engine.
You could use a wheel speed sensor. It just has to be removed for competition.
Right. So you could spend all of practice figuring out what that is, and then I don't know how you would program this into a throttle, but I don't know. Or like a light, even just a light, where it's like if the light's no longer green, you are no longer in the traction window. I hate using the term traction. It's just it feels dirty. It just feels really dirty. But like, grip window or something. I don't know why it feels so bad to say that. I think it's because there's such controversy for a long time that like drivers are using traction control, but
it's not just for the sake of making the car go faster. That's the thing. It's like there's one year where we I talk about it now because it was cool but didn't pan out, but we weren't disclosing it. We put an electronic blow off valve in series to the manual, like analog blow off valve.
I do remember this.
And we were able to manipulate the power band where you can floor the car in any gear, really, like third or fourth, and it'll never hit rev limiter. It'll just go crazy, and then it like just find this like as if you just started driving in sand. Like it just loaded up the motor. It played havoc on motors. Like that was the season we melted a lot of motors because we were literally just letting them suffer. Like we're just like, well,
artificially loading them. Yeah.
Yeah. But Simon absolutely loved it. He, it was like a drug. He's like, that's all he did. He would like be changing the maps. We had like 10 positions, like lead, like, oh, I don't like this. Like, let's try this one. He's just like always playing with it. He got like, he got hooked on it like drugs. And like we had to break his heart when we were tired of melting motors towards the end of the season. We said like, we're pulling the system out of the car. Sorry. And then we stopped melting motors. But the reason I'm bringing that up is like, it's not like it made the cars faster necessarily. It just made it easier to drive. Like say in like a tight track, like New Jersey, you set it into the second zone and you don't have to like just pedal the car. You just kind of get in throttle and let the power just keeps it. It's not an overly abundant amount of power. It just loads the car and you just freaking rail the corner. It feels good because it doesn't start to over rotate. It doesn't start adding angle. It's just easier. There's less work to be done as the driver. So I think I think there's more that we can do as a sport to manipulate the power, in turbo cars, it's a lot easier to do that. Cause you have like, wastegate control and you have adequate boost control without doing things that are harmful to the engine. But I don't know how many of those guys are doing a lot of it, and how effective it is. So I think there's more of that left for sure to tune up.
Well, I mean, I remember Turk's like fresh air anti-lag system, like that car basically seemed like it was driving like a V8. And now I believe he was melting quite a lot of turbos at that point. But maybe the best sounding 2J we've had in FD when he had that fresh air system on it. But I do remember it definitely played some mechanical havoc, but that's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you start going, okay, I really like that. I want that feeling. I want that ability to drive the car that way. That's not sustainable. What else can I do to have that come back, to have that feature come back and not have it be a total havoc on all my parts.
Yeah. Yeah. I think nitrous is, now that everybody's pretty much got it figured out, I really think it's the key to a lot of this. It just sucks. It's such a consumable. Like it's a lot of management in the pits. It's a lot of forward thinking because you can't just, it's not like like you need bottles, you need to regulate temperatures to get everything in the proper window. Like that's the drawback is it is almost someone's full-time job to manage nitrous.
Yeah, no, that's the downside of it.
Yeah.
And it's not even that expensive. That's the whole bummer of it. It's just like labor intensive.
Yeah. It's still like $14 a pound. Like, I don't know what nitrous goes for these days.
No,
like
in your neck of the woods, the race shops charge a lot. They charge $10 a pound. I think wholesale price for nitrous is about $4 a pound.
Damn.
So they're marking it up quite a bit. But not everyone wants to have mother bottles in their garage.
It's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So it might be worth it, but yeah, it's, if you're doing it like on kind of the wholesale level, like as a race team and you have mother bottles, I think it's affordable, it's when you think of like a forced induction setup, like that costs a lot of money initially, to do. So you'll spend less than that.
Financing horsepower.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's putting horsepower on layaway. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where else. Like it's kind of my job to constantly try and think about like, what's next? What's the future? What are we missing? What's going on in other sports? I know there's been a few people thrown like a stab at hybrid systems. I think especially seeing how easy Teslas are now to make pretty good, maybe not FD level, but like not far off from FD level, like scary close.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be long before we see, at least in pro spec, a Tesla drift car.
Yeah. So the battery consumption rate, right, is kind of the thing. But then I think, what is it? The Chevy Volt batteries, those are kind of modular. Like you can run the battery in the car. It's depleted. You literally swap it out and put fresh batteries in there, right? So
kind of like sled it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you do a set of tires, bam, fresh battery, like kind of like changing nitrous bottles, right? So maybe that would be a thing that would work. I think there's room for that. I think a lot of our fan base and demographic of drifting is, just in gearheads in general, there's like a big, kind of stigma against e-vehicles, right? So
yeah,
that's
but
a thing.
If you go like take a look, like Drift HQ did a video on it and it did really well. And the feedback, people are like, this is kind of silly, but I think I kind of like it. Like, yeah, it's, same thing. We still talk about the Camaro all the time.
Yeah.
Did it have problems? Yeah.
But hey,
it could have been great.
Any vehicle you bring to the track without vetting out the issues, without testing it fully, it could be cookie cutter off the shelf LS parts and you're going to have problems.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know how much time that team had to go and shake it down. So
no, almost none.
Okay. So yeah, I think there's definitely room for that. And it's been on my mind a lot, honestly. I'm kind of like, sometimes I'm like, why am I putting all this internal combustion stuff together? Like there's so many moving parts, so many things to go wrong, so much like plumbing and, it's like, it's kind of like the biggest chore of building a competitive race car is the engine package. Right. And I feel like with EV stuff, like maybe that would be the least amount of your worries if there's stuff at your disposal to use.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's probably a bunch of things that we don't know yet what that's going to break. Like, do you have to put in a proper liquid cooling battery or engine package, right?
Yeah.
Is that something, I don't know. Like do the motors get so hot that if you did it one more time that you could not cool them off in time to go and do that? They have so much resistance or something where I'm not sure.
I think you'd be okay. I think you could run it like a lot closer to meltdown if you don't really, care for it lasting season after season. I think it would be very reliable. A lot of the Tesla software is very conservative and they start pulling power as soon as heat goes up to a certain amount. I've had some experience testing Teslas on the racetrack, and I think the fastest I've ever gone at Willow Springs was in a Tesla, actually, and not even trying. I just shook it down for the suspension. Like I was just getting data, and I looked down and I was doing like a 153, not even trying, at a part of Big Willow. Those have an issue with the power being sustainable or consistent because of heat. But from what I understand from the people that I work with that track Teslas or race them, that it's kind of like a software issue. It's intentionally, and no one could crack that code, right? I know like there's standalone systems now to run Tesla motors, so maybe that could be completely done away with. Yeah, man, I think that'd be cool. I mean, I daily drive a Model 3 and I have no complaints. Those things are like, it could be sick. Not necessarily a Tesla, but just the EV power plant is, that's interesting. It's always interesting. It's a fad and it died completely, kind of, I feel like, for a bit.
Yeah, I can see why it's easy to hate on it. I mean, like full disclosure, worked for a fairly large, like electric branded company for a number of years. So like, did I drink some of the Kool-Aid? 100%. But I've also rented and driven. I don't own an electric vehicle, but like a lot of the rentals I get, especially over in Europe, they're electric or at least hybrid. And I'm like, I had a Cupra, like an electric Cupra hatchback, and it was some of the most fun I've ever had driving. Because it was a hot little hatch. It was real sporty inside. It was absurdly quick, and I ripped it around Norway for a week. And I'm like, this is a lot of fun. So I definitely think there's something there with it. The two notes are, right now is the worst they'll ever be. They'll only get better, right? Like that's where it's at. And then anybody who's afraid that we're going to lose internal combustion as a whole needs to be reminded that we still watch horse racing and people still race Model Ts. So like, it's not going away. If we're still doing that stuff, what we're doing now, I don't think will ever actually go away.
I think some people think like, oh, we're trying to change the infrastructure and we're trying to change everything. And no, we're just gearheads and we just like things that are fast and things that work efficiently, right? Like we're always just like, what's cool? What's next? I don't know if you saw, I got hired to do some driving for Hyundai, and they brought out the Ioniq 6. They flew one down from Korea, and I went to their proving grounds and drifted the crap out of it. It was super fun. And then during lunch, I saw a bunch of cars at the proving grounds. I was just poking around, and an engineer walked out and he's like, hey, like, you want to drive any of these? And I was like, I'm going to skip lunch. Let's go.
Let's drive all of them.
Yeah. And it was, we jumped into a Kia branded one. Because they're kind of under the same umbrella, and it didn't have a specific like drift button or anything, but the guy's like, hey, hold this and that for this amount of seconds, the sequence. And then it basically like unlocks the car, and that thing ripped. Like something like that I could probably take to Apple Valley Speedway, which is our local track. It's kind of well known in the nation, honestly, at this point. It's like a go-kart track turns a drift. I could see where that car bone stock, I could take it and just link the track nonstop and have a ton of fun. And it's like an electric car from the factory like that. It's insane.
Yeah, there's something there. I had a discussion with my son, he'll be 13 soon, which for that is crazy. He was explaining a lot of the like e-bikes and things like that to me. And he started explaining the different sounds they make. And I had like a big aha moment where I was like, because that's one of the arguments, right? People are like, oh, it's soulless, doesn't have a sound. And he was able to describe to me very definitively the different sounds based on the different e-bikes that are out there. And like, these are like very like hopped up, like dirt bike style. I can't even remember the name of the brands. And I was like, this is like, I remember describing the difference between a 2-stroke 125 and a 4-stroke 250 and like all the old dirt bikes, like my CB80, like I could now probably still identify those, but for my son, he's going to have nostalgia over an electric dirt bike that's out right now and will remember that sound. And, if he ever gets one, that'll be like, he'll remember that sound. And even like I was watching a bunch of Formula E they have different sounds. Like is it the sound I like? No, but my dad also doesn't like the sound of a 2J because it's not a 427, right? Like it's just how it goes.
Revs too high and the harmonics are too smooth.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have a rumble to it. And I'm like, Dad, like
yeah, it's got variable freaking timing. Like it doesn't have to.
And it has decent fuel economy.
Yeah.
Welcome to the future, old man. Like, but that's the exact same conversation I was about to have with my kid before I took a moment to be like, I'm about to sound like my dad does. Because I was about to, I'm like, you can't tell the difference. They all sound the same. Like, that doesn't sound very good. And like, I had to almost physically stop myself to be like, no, just listen to them because this is it. This is what kids are having conversations about.
I think if people purpose-built like race electric motors, they would sound crazy. Because look, I went to Battle Arrow to pick up some quarter panels, and they make like those cool drift carts, right? And they have electric ones now, and they're hopped up electric ones. When you freaking get on, they straight sound evil. Like it's just like this yeep, like crazy high pitched sound. I was just like, whoa, like there's something there. And there's something there. I think, like the street cars, they purposely make them quiet. Like there's things that they implement in the technology, probably the motors to make them quiet. And, but if there's like purpose built race ones, I could see where it would have some aesthetically or pleasing sounds like to us gearheads, right? Like it's going to make evil, crazy sounds. Like I think just generation of that much energy is going to have a byproduct of sound. Yeah. Go watch the Gymkhana, the Electricana. Like, that thing sounded absurd. Yeah. Yeah. And, is it same thing? Is it a giant, was it a Ken Block? Was it a unicorn? No, it never can be. But did it sound ridiculous? It did. So you just need all of it, right? Like I said, we're not trying to dream of replacing this because, man, like I'll always love and appreciate working on internal combustion motors, right? They have soul, right? Like there's just like hearing it, feeling the vibration, and when you get the tune just right, like it tells you. Like there's a I remember always on the radio being like, Freddie, you threw more fuel at my car. Like the harmonics, I feel it, him being a diligent tuner and being safe and like making it so I don't blow up a motor. But I would like tell him, like, I call it out. Cause when you're in tune with the internal combustion motor, you start changing these little things, like it talks to you, gives you feedback. So that's a feeling that none of us want to get away from, at a certain point. But I also we want to play. We want to try different stuff too. Yeah. As I've said time and time again, like, I don't want to be an ice salesman in the age of the refrigerator. Like I want to make sure that, like, no matter what I'm doing, I want to at least have an eye as to what might be coming down the pipe. Whether I like it or not, it doesn't matter because time's going to march forward no matter if I'm here or not, or whether I like it. Yeah. But you just got to decide, are you on the ride or are you going to stand and watch everybody else have fun? And there's talks of, right, like, hey, it's not sustainable, this and that. No, we're talking about motorsports here. Like, just sustainability. Let's put all the politics aside. All right, we're talking about like what goes fast and what goes faster, and what allows us to have more seat time and play more, right? Yeah. So that's all. We're not people to argue what's sustainable or not. Like that's kind of I listen, I went to culinary school. I am not educated enough to have a meaningful discussion on what is sustainable and what's not. I'm just saying we're kind of hypocritical if we're thinking about those things too, right? Like we consume a lot of stuff to have fun. Yes, we do. Yeah. That's the reality. First season in a long time without Amy in your ear. Good thoughts? How did she do? How did Amy do not being a spotter? Like, was she still trying to kind of do it and be like, okay, I watched the run. Like, here's what I'm thinking. Cause I have a feeling, I don't know. I feel like it'd be tough for her to not do anything. Yeah, she did, like, when she could, but she really enjoyed not having that responsibility and being there for our kids at the track and just having a good time. There's certain venues we had friends come over and she could engage with them and hang out. Like, it brought joy to me to see her, be able to experience that. But I could see that she was wanting to make sure that I'm okay, that I'm doing my best. And she always had the radio on her, and there would be times where she wouldn't be shy. Like, she's like, you need to work on that. Like, that's not good, you know? And she would just chime in and say it. But yeah, I'm used to it, and she's used to it. So, you know, I wouldn't have expected anything other than her chiming in on the radio and keeping an eye on me. Like, we're, you know, we're husband, wife, we're best friends. So, like, you don't expect your, like, buddy to just be like, oh, you got this, cool. Like, no, if you're into something that you like, and you are both working on it, like, you're going to continue to kind of collaborate and work together on it. 'Cause it's just, it's just impossible.
Yeah. Justin, though, I mean, that obviously was a big shift. It was big news. He seems to be a pretty straight shooter. Was there a noticeable difference, like in communication? I guess just in general, like what's it like having JTP in your ear?
It was cool because he's got the driver element, right? Like, so it was really interesting, a cool learning experience to have someone that's a driver telling you what they think looks good. And then as soon as they say that or doesn't look good, they automatically try to empathize with me as a driver because they're a driver, and be like, well, you know, I think maybe there's just like, maybe the car just doesn't have enough side there, or maybe that, you know, like, tries to take it that step further that you would naturally think a driver would do. So, I think it's good and bad, right? Because there's sometimes that it's like very helpful, because he's like, hey, he could see I'm having a hard time executing some portion of the track the way the judges want it to be executed. So instead of just saying, hey, you're not doing it right, try this, or so and so is doing that, he could foresee the maybe physical trouble that I'm having with the car, and he's experienced a same phenomenon with some of the cars he's driven. So he could say, hey, try clutch kicking a little harder or a little sooner, or some sort of technique that a driver would only know to implement, right? So
okay,
that was really cool to not just completely be on my own to figure out how to manipulate the car differently to suit the line or the rate to angle or something like that. But having someone that's like, yeah, you need to have more angle there, try doing this, you know, sometimes that's appreciated and it's cool. But at the same time, I think it could work in the opposite too. Like, there could be too much empathy from the spotter to the driver. And I see it all the time. It's like, no, don't give us any slack. Like, if we're just not doing it, you don't have to, you know, just be real. And, you know, and Justin is, like you say, he's a straight shooter guy. Yeah. But you can't take the driver out of a driver, and, you know, that you just like, you feel for another driver. You're just like, I would do the same exact thing. Like, I'd say like, yeah, okay, well, maybe it's just like, you know, that other driver got lucky on that run. That's why it looks so good or something, you know? So, but these are like, this is really diving deep. Like, overall is, you know, this is like me pulling out like the pros and the cons. Overall is a super fun experience. And I think Justin had a really good time too.
Yeah, it was super cool. I mean, for me, it was strange not to have Amy up in the booth, but it was cool to have Justin up there. Like, and they're very much the same in a lot of ways, that they are, you know, very straight shooters, to the point, you know, neither of them take any shit off anybody, which is great for both of them, but also still very, very different in a lot of ways. And like, I like hanging out with the spotters a lot during practice. I get a lot of good gossip out of them, although Justin did not provide a lot, and Amy doesn't usually either, but
really, Justin likes to chat, man.
He does, but it's never like stuff that I can use. You know, like,
maybe he's extracting more information from you than giving you.
He probably is. He probably is. He's good that way. You know, I admittedly, like, the real hack, like, if you want the real dirt on a team, it's like a second year mechanic. That's the best bet. The rookies don't want to say anything. The crew chiefs know better, but like the second or third year mechanic, they're very happy to talk to you. They should know better, but they don't, and they'll give you everything.
But they haven't gotten in trouble enough to be pulled aside and be like, dude, what did you just tell so-and-so?
Tell him
like,
that.
Yeah.
Although I feel like I'm pretty good at not prying, but I still need to like do my job and get some inside stuff. Like, I mean, I've said it to you a couple of times where I'll be pretty straight up, like, and this is actually, Lorette taught me this, like on the record or off the record, I want to ask you about this. And like, you and I have a really good discourse where sometimes you're like, hey, let's not talk about this. I'm going to tell you, but don't, like, this doesn't go anywhere. And sometimes you're like, I don't give a shit. This is what we're fighting. And I'm like, all right, cool. I can work with that. So it just depends. But, and sometimes I'll ask the mechanics first and they'll kind of tell me, and then I can kind of come to a driver and be like, hey, this is what I'm hearing. And then kind of like, if they're like, nope, that's not it. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm not talking about that.
Well, some of the mechanics like feel out is my mic acting up or does it sound fun?
No, you're good.
Yeah, sometimes the mechanics, like everyone on team, like, we're like a tribe when we're there. So we feel like if there's we're fighting something and they feel for the driver, they start to act almost like the driver. Right? It's like the driver's in the funk. They're all kind of like, so then you approach them and you get that vibe right away. Right. So it's like, but that's when you have a good working team is like when you like everyone is on a tribe and you feel like you're in a tribe and everyone kind of is really connected. It could really be harmful if then someone is toxic, right? And then it bleeds. It could be good and bad. But you asking a mechanic, I think, is a really good approach because if everyone's working tightly together, you'll get the vibe real quick. what's going on, and if you should dig further or not.
Yeah. I mean, especially. Like if I see a driver struggling, I kind of want to know what's going on so I can hopefully explain the story a little bit better when we go on air. But I'm also cognizant that like if they're not driving well, I'm probably one of the last people they want to talk to at that moment. Like, it's just, I get it. Like I wouldn't, if I'm having a rough day, there's a good chance I don't want to talk to one of the announcers.
Yeah. I mean, it depends what the root of the problem is, right? Like if it's
right.
If it's something that you worked maybe with a company or a team of people to resolve and they let you down, then you can't openly express that frustration, right? So that's when you're like, man, like I just can't, like like this sucks. Like, sorry, I can't, give you any more info. But at least for me, and I think most drivers, if you're just having a rough time at the track, negotiating the track, like there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's just bad days and there's good days. And, we've all seen enough of the greats have bad days and openly talk about it. And I think it's just what happens and, it's okay.
Yeah. It's important too. Like it's important to show that not every event, not every day, not every lap is going to be PG. Like that's just drifting. And sometimes the whole event's that way. And sometimes it was just that one lap. It really just depends.
Yeah. And we want to be engaging to our audience and to our fans. So like, you can't just put up a facade every single time. And it's like, thank you to this and that sponsor. Like, we're going to come back stronger. It's like, no, you want to add that human element that you really feel and experience, because like why not? I think it's better for everyone. Like,
I'm actually really excited on the content side of things. I don't know who you've got working behind the camera this year, but the videos look great, like really good.
Yeah. I mean, we just invested, like,
okay.
It's not, it's not free. It's not paid by a partner that came in and said, do this and we'll cover it. No, I think it was worth, it needed that investment. I wanted that. And, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I found a really good dude that is sharp, good, takes a lot of the work away from me as far as the content development. I could just be myself, do my thing, and he captures it well. And So I'm stoked on it. Because yeah, you could pay someone and try and do it, but then you still end up maybe doing a lot of the work on creating the content yourself and paying someone, and it just becomes like a chore, and then that's not sustainable. That's not going to work out. So yeah, I'm stoked we got someone that we're working with. A guy named Brian.
Yeah, even like the little Hawaii bit where you're like, I'm just going to check in on the guys, and like it's just ringing and they're busy. Like that one got me. I'm like, that was thought out. That was purposeful. Somebody like went, okay, Odi, you're on vacation.
Yeah.
Can you just like film yourself really quick? Or maybe you thought, I'm not sure how it worked out, but like it was just a very purposeful thing that added to the video. It didn't take away from it. And it was like a fun little moment.
So I've always had fun with these ideas, and I have tons of them. I feel like I'm a pretty playful person, right? It's just, you got to find someone that you could just throw all those ideas and someone that could just implement them, that you're just like, dude, I'm going to do this. And just film it and just cut it up and edit it and make it like, they have to see your vision of what you're like thinking. And if you find the right videographer, the right content creator, it just flows. It just happens. So you got a good idea and you're just like, just pick up the camera. Like, let's just shoot this real quick. And you just do it. And then afterwards, maybe you go like, hey, this is kind of the vibe I was trying to go for. And on editing, just do that. And they're just like, yeah, got you. No problem. But I've tried that with other videographers, and sometimes it doesn't quite, the qualities could be great, but it doesn't quite capture the message or the vibe that I was trying to go for. And this one is just like, I could just be playful, have fun. And it works out on the editing side. It pans out the way I expected it to.
Good. That gets me pretty stoked for the season then. Hopefully that's all kind of continuing on throughout the events and things like that. Cause if, similar, like if this is the worst it is, it's only going to get better from here. I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah. And I don't know if I want to do every single like event recap. Like I and hey, to people watching, like, are you guys tired of freaking seeing that? Like,
that's a great question. Cause it's like,
everyone, their mom's doing
so much of it.
I've done it for years and years. I've done it with Matt as frenemies for years and years. Like,
I loved frenemies.
That was good.
It was really good.
Matt and I chatted because I had some administrative thing to deal with that put the frenemies YouTube channel on the radar. I had to address something. And we're like, hey, maybe we should do like a video at some point where like we jump in each other's pro cars during preseason testing and like drive it and just throw a banger on the frenemies YouTube channel, just like here and there, just like for fun, but just like once or twice a year or something. Just why not? So
yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
I'm down for that. The frenemies vibe was good because like you and Matt are very, very different people. Like you're both the same in a lot of ways, but like Matt's very in your face. He's boisterous. He's loud. He's very Matt Field. Yeah, exactly. And you're a lot more chill, low key, and like, I absolutely love Matt. He's grown on me so much. And like anybody that's actually spent time with him, he's very infectious. Like he's just such a fun dude to be around. He keeps the vibe going. And it was such a good series. I would love to see something, even if you're just at an event and it's you two hanging out or talking shit, like that. Just that dynamic works so well.
Yeah, we're very different people, and
yes,
I really admire people that are good for the sport, and he's one of those people that I think is genuinely good for the sport. And
yes,
that goes a long way in my book.
Yes. One of the biggest news is how do I address this? I have to think about how I need to actually properly address this. A memo was leaked from Formula Drift, supposedly. I don't know if I can confirm or not confirm or how this works. More or less stating that qualifying is coming back with heavily computer aided. I've yet to actually talk to any drivers about this, which is shocking because usually I'm a big gossip queen. I'm on the phone with everybody right away. But where are you in all this? Like, obviously you read it. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on one, qualifying coming back, two, the rise of the robots in judging and in drifting?
I mean, first and foremost, when we got that memo, I think I owe a lot to Amy and Ryan Sage at Formula Drift. We started this dialogue with Formula Drift in a very professional, like productive way before the season started, in regards to qualifying, because we felt like the voice of all the teams is not being heard, and possibly the majority of the diehard fans. So we created a survey that took everyone in Formula Drift, all the drivers and teams, to voice their opinion of how they felt about qualifying, seating. And Amy went back and forth with Ryan Sage. They have a lot of respect for each other. So there's a really good open dialogue there. And Ryan Sage was like nice enough and cool enough to help administer the survey correctly. And I think that voice needed to be heard. If that wouldn't have happened, I don't think we would have qualifying back, like, hands down.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a very long discussion, and I'm happy that Amy really grabbed the bull by the horns and was like, we're going to keep this going no matter what.
And it wasn't like, it wasn't being stubborn, this or that. It was literally just organizing everyone's opinion, and everyone had an opinion about qualifying. No one spoke out in a constructive way. They weren't able to articulate their reasons for it. It just wasn't happening. It wasn't going to happen. And nothing against Formula Drift. It's literally just the kind of flaw of, when you get a group of people like you and people kind of lash out and say a comment here and there, like that's how things don't move forward. Things don't change. Like you need to, you need to be organized and communicate well. So bottom line is I don't think we would have qualifying back if it wasn't for Amy's ability to communicate well, write well, and earn the respect of Ryan Sage at Formula Drift, and allow us to gather everyone's opinion and voice it. And then, obviously there's a lot of teams and drivers that were very involved and outspoken that, at the banquet, James Dean dropped the mic and said, bring back qualifying. All these little things added up, obviously, and there's a lot of effort. But the robot judging that, that came as a surprise. But hey, like, I'm all about it. I always was, and it was one of those things that was like taboo. I feel like to say out loud, but I think trying that for qualifying, I think there's no harm to try it, right? Like Formula Drift is very progressive. They try things and they're not afraid to try things that might fail and keep trying and changing things. That's why they're still in business. There's a lot of racing organizations that come and go, and Formula Drift is obviously doing something very right because they're still in business. They're still doing well. They're still the epitome of drifting globally. So I trust that what they are doing, what they're going to try is diligent, and it's worthwhile trying, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, we tried with seating. There are very few hills I will die on, but I will say that I think seating was probably one of the best things to ever happen to ProSpec. I think it did exactly what it needs to do within ProSpec. It provides battle experience to drivers that need it the most, which are drivers that are coming up, that especially the rookies, things like that. It makes that a lot more exciting. But ultimately, in the form that seating was in, it didn't necessarily work at the pro level for a few different reasons.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into it. Like I have like nightmares of going through this over and over, like all the different reasons that it wasn't good. Like there's many reasons. But we tried it, and I don't blame FD for trying it. Right there, that was a very bold, big move. And how many top level drifting series pulled something that bold off, and it looked successful from the outside, and things didn't break, they worked, and experience that you can't take away that they have now as a series and have shown the world a whole different style of going through competition.
And it's just another option. And it's like, it may hold in other places. You might still see it in other places. Obviously we're still seeing it in Pro Spec, but maybe you see it in Pro-Am or other stuff. Like, I mean, FD's done a lot of really interesting things over the years. I mean, I make fun of it, but like, remember the drift dial? Like there's so many cool iterations if you really look back of how judging has evolved. Like one point in time, you touched a cone, it was a 0. Like, which in our minds now seems absurd, but at the time it made a lot of sense. And that the decision was made and they ran with it.
Because, Formula Drift is not 100% fan centric. Like they are quite driver centric, and they take in. Yeah. So as drivers start to voice a certain opinion, they listen, and then they mold things to kind of suit what the drivers want and suit what the fans want and suit what is good for business. So it's always kind of like, it's not like just a dictatorship where it's like, this is like this and that's it. So that's why you see things like shift and there's cycles, right? Like the cone, black or white, like 0 if you hit it. There's a notion that needed to happen because there was, obviously something going on. People being unhappy about not getting deducted for blowing off course or something.
Yeah, or like did you center punch it? Was it the center of the vehicle? Oh man, like that. Yeah. It's amazing how soon we forget the ways of the old, and it's like, now we laugh about it, but at the time, like I think it was like Ryan Turk in Long Beach, like center punched a cone, but won the battle, and it was this. Everybody was outraged, and spotters were screaming, and it was just like. The conversation was like, was it actually the center of the vehicle? And like, was the badge on his car actually centered? And like, oh my gosh. But like, that's sport. If there's rules, people are going to argue them. Like, it doesn't matter how black and white they are. Even with the cone thing, there was arguments. People were like, oh no, the winds moved it. Like I didn't touch it. Like
the car produced the little vacuum and it like tilted it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the evolution. I'm torn. I had a pretty strong vote for 1-run qualifying and then like bottom 8, battle it out for whatever spots are left.
Yeah.
I think that would have been cool. Now, that also has a bunch of inherent problems that we've seen before, but like, I don't know. I wanted a hybrid model personally.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the safer bet too, right? The bottom 8 battle it out. But the argument there, I think, is that people don't try as hard. Right. Because it's like one shot. That's it. Like you're going to want to make sure that run sticks.
The best runs we ever saw in qualifying is when we had 2 non-consecutive qualifying runs, like the JTP 100, James Dean having a perfect qualifying. I remember like Freddie was a menace in qualifying for years because he would put in a safe one and then come out on the second one and just try the wildest stuff. And like, I do agree that is the upside with 2-run, but it is time consuming. Yeah. It can be a bit of a slog. But also going through a bunch of buy runs and seeding's not fantastic either.
Yeah. There's issues with all of them. I think the majority of the reasons were why we need to just go back to qualifying period for a lot of people. I think it was like fairness. So it's fair to the drivers as far as point allocation. And then it's like, for me, it's like an element of the sport that's missing if you don't showcase the qualifying. It's a certain element of the sport. Like it's a different car setup, different driving style for qualifying, and fans were missing out on that.
Yeah.
And there's a level of there's a level of confusion that was being infused into the sport, and there's already a lot of confusion for fans. So it's like, oh, that was tough. Anyway, I don't want to really get into like because it's almost unfair too. I feel like, you almost need a party from the other side speaking about how good it was and why it needed to exist too. So I don't want to be saying,
I know. You don't want to beat up on anybody, and that's fair. Like I said, I'm very, very happy that seating is in Pro Spec. I think it'll continue to do really, really good things there. But I'm also super pumped to give you guys your flowers. Like to have, as an announcer, I'm excited to have the opportunity for me to really nerd out about one driver and like talk about what's been going on in between rounds and like provide that highlight. I'm not necessarily looking forward to picking apart qualifying runs. And like, I don't necessarily need to, I need to in some regard, but I am very excited because I love doing research. I love deep diving into everybody's backstories and what's been going on and stuff like that. So for me, that's the part that I'm the most excited about is like, I can be whoever you are, no matter how things are going, you're going to get 2 runs in the spotlight, 60 seconds, whatever it is, where all the attention is on you. The photos will be beautiful. It's just your vehicle, like stuff like that. Like all these little side benefits that a lot of drivers did bring up as valid points.
No, it's a whole art form of the sport. Like, think of the time, all this time that we missed out on just hearing people's motors or their throttle inputs and just all the weird little sounds that sometimes cars make, or how little on throttle someone is, or where, like I nerd out on that stuff, you know. I love seeing it, and I feel like the fans missed out on that for a little bit because in a tandem run, it's chaos. Like as far you don't put those things under a magnifying glass. Kind of, it just gets lost in the noise.
And there's a lot of special moments. Like everyone will talk about, you know, Denofa first St. Louis layout, kind of his big middle finger to the judges being like, I'm just going to go throw a crazy gangster run. I mean, Forrest Wang used to do those all the time. We already touched base on the 100-point runs. Like, you know, there's also been some epic crashes in qualifying and crazy moments of people like zeroing on the first one and then having to put something down. Like there's still a lot of story that can happen in qualifying, like a lot of story.
Yeah. I mean, technical gremlins are, you know, that's a very big risky thing in qualifying. So same in tandem, I guess, but in qualifying, it's more nerve wracking if it's a technical thing taking you out. It's like, dude, all you have to do is do a solo run, you know, and then things fall apart and you're just like, oh dude, how can this have happened? You know,
there's no excuses in qualifying. There's nothing. There's no, you can't point a finger. You can't say this guy did
against
that.
yourself.
Yeah. There's something quite beautiful about it. So I'm excited. I just, like I said, I wanted to get the opinion, but I also very much respect you saying like, hey, let's not dump on this unless, you know, the fight can go either way. So I also love seating. I had a ton of fun in seating. I think we had a bunch of really cool stories that came out of it. Drivers that had amazing breakout moments. But yeah, it is what it is. We're on to the next thing, which is super cool that we get to do that in this sport, that we can just be like, hey, let's try something again. Let's try something new. So
yeah, and they try these new things and they put them together well enough to where it comes back and it just perseveres, right? Like it's crazy to throw such massive changes at such a big organization with so many moving parts and pull it off and have it. That's, you know, props to them for being able to just do that.
Well, and the trickle down that comes with it, right? Like Pro-Am's changed, you know, Pro Spec changes, driver learning changes, education, like everything changes because of this decision. And like anybody who thinks like, oh, these are just rash decisions. It's like, listen, I don't think Ryan Sage sleeps. That man has so much weight on his shoulder, as well as the rest of the team. Like, let's be brutally honest here. Like, you know, a lot of this was Kevin and, you know, Andy, and there was a lot of big conversations. There were a lot of uncomfortable conversations that happened, and a lot of, you know, in both an unofficial and official capacity. Like I can tell you probably half the rounds I drove to the track with Sage and we talked about stuff like this. And it's just, that's all that people talk about. Like I've said it so many times, like everybody that's involved in FD, from volunteers to the drivers to the staff to everything, like they live and breathe this sport. Like I cannot convey that enough.
And they care, right? Like that's something that, like Ryan Sage he's a kind of, if you sum it up, he's a business owner, right? He's like a high up like kind of executive level person, right? But here he is battling for truth on a social media post that some fan that probably put in a fraction of a % effort into a statement, and Ryan Sage is there defending the series and why it should be that way, and it's like props to him for having the energy to do that. Like
it's wild. Like he's in, we have the Outerzone Discord, link down below, but like he's in there all the time. Andy Luck is in there Andy loves it in there because he's just like unhinged and just gets to be Andy. But yeah, like Ryan's in there helping people out with like ticket issues, and I'm like, but also as a boss, I just respect the hell out of that.
Yeah,
that like
any boss that gets his hands dirty like that is freaking. That's awesome.
That's how you build a team.
Yeah.
Like, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Like you lead by pulling the rope, not by cracking the whip. Like that is how you get a group of people to work and be passionate about their jobs and about the whole thing. So yeah, I could not ask for a better boss. Like him and I have been back and forth so much lately with like we're doing a premium membership for the podcast. And like, he didn't take this lightly. It wasn't like, I was just like, I'm going to do this thing. He's like, yeah, have fun with it. He's like, can you explain it to me? What's, how's this going to work? What happens if this happens? Like, who's dealing with this? How's this going to, and I'm like, you could have just said yes or no, but he didn't say either until I fully explained the entire business case. So yeah. Anyways, I'm just blowing up Sage right now, but he's a fucking great guy.
Yeah.
He's just a great guy.
But people like that are, it teaches you like where you should be more disciplined in your own life, and it's good,
Yeah.
Or it makes you feel like you're not doing enough sometimes.
That's probably where, yeah, I get that a lot. I'll like look at successful people or disciplined people, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I not running 5 miles a day? I know why, but and no amount of social media posts is going to change my mind on that, but that's all good. You're good. You didn't miss much. Well, we're at 2 hours already anyways, which is usually my general cutoff. Odi, I'm excited for this season. I'm excited to see how this build comes together. I will 100% be in the stands on your first lap, ready to see what you do with this car. All
right.
I'm
a little
pumped,
pressure there.
Yeah. Okay. I should be the least amount of pressure that you've got on your shoulders, to be honest. But any parting words? Anything you want to close out with?
No, honestly, like I worked all day and I just had dinner with the family. I didn't prep for this. I didn't think about, things like that. But so I don't have anything, any wise words to leave with. But this was just a fun chat, man.
Yeah, I very much like this. Yeah, for anybody listening or watching at home, please check out Fuel Suspension website as well. Go through their FAQ. There's a ton of great info in there. And whether you run fuel or not, I hope you would, considering everything you just heard from this gentleman today. But Odi, yeah, thank you. Everybody, please go subscribe to Odi's channel. We'll have links down below. The build series. We'll probably have a new video by the time this comes out, but I'm very excited to see more of it.
Yeah, it's an exciting stage. We're getting to the point where bolting things on, and it's all coming together. This is kind of the rush time to get it going and start testing. So this is exciting. Yeah. No, it's good. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you everybody for listening and watching at home. If you are a premium member, greatly appreciated. If you haven't joined up yet, I'll try not to bug you about it too much, but I can say it goes a long way and it is definitely worth it. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening and watching, and we will catch you next week.